What's up, guys? That's Man in the Box by Alice in Chains. Thanks for tuning back in. If you saw my previous video, I did my 2016 NFL mock draft, picks 1 through 10. I'm here today to go from, like I said last time, I'm going to do picks 11 to 20, and then the next time I'll do picks 21 through 31, because there's only 31 picks. In this first round, I'm doing this on a Sunday. I did it last week, Saturday. I was going to have a guest come on for this, but it ended up not working out. So I think I'm going to bring him on for at least a draft recap, if not before then. So I look forward to that. But let's get into it here. I'm actually really excited about doing this. This is an interesting draft class. There's not a lot of big-time blue-chip prospects necessarily, but there's a lot of defensive tackle and, defensive lineman talent, defensive ends, a lot of outside linebacker. A lot of that it's super deep in this class, more so than any class I can honestly remember. So that's pretty exciting. So this middle of the first round, I think, will be a lot of those, just because of how deep the class is and how high end that talent is. So before we start at number 11, I'll just go through my top 10 again, like we talked about last time. And I went old school. I have a piece of some papers this time, a lot easier. The computer's fine, but I just prefer paper anyway. So we'll go over my top 10 here. So I had the Titans picking Laramie Tunsil, left tackle, out of Ole Miss. Then I had the Browns taking Carson Wentz, quarterback out of North Dakota. Then I had the Chargers taking Jalen Ramsey, corner out of Florida State. Then I had the Cowboys taking Ezekiel Elliott, running back out of the Ohio State University. And then I had Miles Jack, outside linebacker for UCLA, going to Jacksonville. And then I had the Ravens picking up Joey Bosa out of Ohio State. And then I had DeForest Buckner going to the Niners. And then Jared Goff, quarterback, going to the Eagles. And then I had Kevin Dodd, defensive end, going to the Buccaneers. And then I had the tackle, Ronnie Stanley, going to the Giants. So, this 11 through 20 was interesting. A couple things happened in the last couple days that made it kind of hard, but I think I have a good list here, and yeah, let's go through it. A lot of these guys I actually like quite a bit. So, yeah, let's just get into it. So, at number 11, we have Chicago, and looking at Chicago, I was thinking, if there was a Carson Wentz here or a Jared Goff, would Chicago take a chance on them? No. Well, I don't know. Maybe not. I don't think Jay Cutler is the right guy for them going forward, I guess. I didn't think they should have re-signed him for that long contract, but he's an average quarterback at best, I think. The best available quarterback at that position is Paxton Lynch, who will probably go later in the first, I would think. I don't think he's worth that pick to come in. And then you look, they lost Matt Forte. So would they take a running back there? Would they kind of reach for Derrick Henry for this pick? I don't really know if he fits their system, and their offensive line is really bad. So, do you go, a tackle there, a guard? They just have a lot of holes, and I was just kind of thinking for the best picks available at that spot, and the Bears as a team, I was thinking, like, when they were a really solid team and a good team, they had a really good defense. Their defense was winning games for them. And their defense was built around a great linebacking core with Brian Urlacher and Lance Briggs. Obviously, Brian Urlacher is retired. Lance Briggs is hurt and or not around anymore. I'm not even sure because he hasn't played in a long time. And when he is, he's not. He's clearly shown his age. So they signed Danny Trevathan previously with the Broncos, and he's kind of a middle linebacker, pretty athletic. Not your prototypical big, slow guy like Brian Urlacher, but quick, really good ball skills, and I think that was a major pickup in free agency. Previously was with John Fox. So I like that pickup, and I think I'm going to add to those. I'm going to go to those linebackers. I'm going to go Leonard Floyd out of Georgia, outside linebacker. Now, this was a guy I hadn't heard much about. I heard a little bit, some people talking about him, but when I threw on the tape, I don't know, he really jumped out to me. He can fly, man. He's not as much of he's not just like an athletic guy. Like some of these outside linebackers that come out, you could almost put him at safety, honestly, But this guy's stout, but he's just he's big and fast, has great awareness. He could slide in the middle. Sometimes he played a little bit of middle, sometimes out. Great against a run, great against a pass. Really just a force of nature. And his tape was great. When I put it on, I thought he looks fantastic, honestly. So if you put him up with Danny Trevathan, I think that gives you a great 1-2 punch. Maybe not this year, maybe next year. They kind of start to get that flow going, and maybe they can build their defense around those two guys. I think that would be a very solid pickup for them. Okay, and then we have the Saints at number 12. I could have gone a lot of different ways here. This was kind of a tough one because the Saints they have a lot of holes, and to me, they feel like an old team. They feel like they're really clinging on to that 2009 team that won the Super Bowl, and they just haven't done much differently, and it just seems like it's just going through the motions at this point, I don't know. So I could have gone a couple different ways here. I thought maybe help their defense out. Their secondary hasn't been very good lately. Maybe get a corner there. Their linebackers are here and there. They haven't had a really stand-up one since Jonathan Vilma, really. Their defensive line is serviceable. Cameron Jordan is good when he plays, but I don't know. I just think there was a lot of different ways I could go, but I thought the thought that came to me was build your strength. So, what do they do well? And maybe help that out first before you start at ground level with your defense, which has a lot of holes, whereas the offense it's a big play, a lot of yards, a lot of touchdowns offense. So I went with Laquan Treadwell, the big receiver out of Ole Miss. Marcus Colston just retired. He was Drew Brees' go-to guy, big receiver. And I think that Laquan Treadwell goes right in. Laquan could have gone at any of the picks ahead. I think he definitely slid to 12 to the Saints. I think he fits in right away. Great 1-2 punch. They have that smaller receiver they got last year, Brandon Cooks, yeah. Who played really well. I think Laquan, he takes up that outside, and I think that's a really good two-receiver combo. Drew Brees getting older. I think you would only help him by giving him a big receiver to throw to. It just makes his life easier. I think that's a really good fit there. So then we have the Dolphins at number 13. Another one that I think this Dolphins team is kind of at least a couple years away from really being a contender. They're in a tough division with the Patriots, obviously. And I don't know, they have, again, they signed a couple big, they're usually big in free agency. They signed Byron Maxwell, the corner from Philadelphia, and then also Kiko Alonso, formerly Eagles as well. And I don't know how well they're going to fit. They're just free agent signings. I don't really know how well it's going to turn out for them. But I kind of figured to go with Byron, at least their pass rush was pretty good last year. And I know they lost, I forget his name, the outside linebacker. He went to the Giants. But they still have Cameron Wake, who's a force, and they have some talent on that line. So I thought secondary, Vernon Hargreaves is there from Florida, same state. Just bring him on in, a homer. Really good corner. Honestly, he slid too. He could have gone at any of the other ones that we had said too. I think he'll slide right in. It's always good to have a young guy. And if you think of Byron Maxwell as, I don't know if he's necessarily a great number one corner. He could be a kind of a transitional guy, maybe start number one, and then Vernon Hargreaves, hopefully you would hope, could potentially become a number one. So then you put Byron over to number two, where he's better, I think. And I think that just fits really well. And if you have good, obviously, like, football is a team sport, I don't have to tell you that, but, like, if you have good coverage, that really helps out your pass rush and vice versa. So if they get another good cover guy, if he fits in really well, that'll only help out their pass rush, which is decent. It's okay. So I think that definitely helps. Okay, so then that brings us to number 14, the Raiders, who everybody loves. The Raiders are hot on a lot of people's lists. They have a young quarterback, Derek Carr, really great young receiver in Amari Cooper and Michael Crabtree. Michael Crabtree played really well last year. And that team has a lot of potential. Khalil Mack is fantastic. It's a really great young team. Everybody's super excited about these guys, and we'll see. I could have gone a couple different ways there. A lot of people are thinking, get Derek Carr another weapon, another receiver. You could, but I think they have a pretty good 1-2 punch there with Crabtree and Cooper. So I thought maybe tight end, but there's not really a great tight end to go right there. So I actually went with A'Shawn Robinson out of Alabama, the D tackle, and this dude is a monster. I mean, he's a big boy, really good pass rush, really good against the run, just your prototypical number one D lineman. A great prospect. If you throw on the tape, you're like, this dude is awesome. He's a game breaker. Just the defensive line class in this draft is outrageous. Like, the tape on these guys is fantastic. It's head and shoulders above any other one that I've ever really looked at. So I think he fits in perfectly. And if you have a good, like I've said before on defense, but like a really good hand in his dirt, 3-down lineman, pass rushing guy, that only helps out Khalil Mack, who plays D end and middle linebacker and outside linebacker. If you have a monster like that, those two guys will be best friends. They'll love each other. They'll be able to make plays off each other. I think that you could add a weapon to their offense, but I feel like their offense is pretty good right now as far as it goes. And I feel like that is a huge pickup, and I think that would help them more than another good receiver, honestly, in my opinion. So, yeah, I love that pick, honestly. And then we come to the Rams, the LA Rams at number 15. This was kind of an interesting one. They lost a bunch of pieces on defense recently. They released James Laurinaitis, their middle linebacker, and Chris Long, their defensive end. Two foundations of their defense for a long time and have been playing really well. So I don't really know. That kind of was a surprise to everybody. So I think just to free up cap space for their move and to LA and stuff, which is unfortunate, But so their defense kind of needs replacing. They still need a quarterback, and like I said before, the best available right now is Paxton Lynch. Paxton Lynch put on a show at his pro day. He looked fantastic. He really impressed me a lot because before that, I was kind of like, I don't know about this guy. And then I saw his pro day, and then he blew me away, and his film has looked better and better to me. I really like Paxton Lynch a lot. So maybe you go him there, but he's such a raw guy. I think I just think he has a high ceiling. I think he has a higher ceiling than Jared Goff. Maybe about the same as Carson Wentz, obviously, but not quite as good of an athlete, but a huge arm, bigger than both those guys. Huge arm, really big upside, but I think he needs some time to sit, and he's going to need some time to fit into a system. Whereas if the Rams take him, they're going to start him right away, and I think that would only hurt him. So I don't know, and plus it would set them back a little bit. So I don't know if you do that. I'm going with actually Reggie Ragland out of Alabama, the middle linebacker. This dude is one of my favorite prospects. He's big, he's nasty. He is an old school middle linebacker, like Dick Butkus, like Ray Lewis, like I said about Brian Urlacher, just big, meaty guy. And every single hit, you go, whoo, like just lays the wood every time. Yeah, and the trend nowadays is, you need the athlete at every position. You basically need a safety playing, middle linebacker, and I just don't necessarily always agree with that. And Reggie Ragland is an old school guy. He's nasty, he's gritty, and he lays the wood, man. So I think with James Laurinaitis leaving, their all-time leading tackler, I'm pretty sure, or pretty close to it anyway, last time I checked. I probably should have done that research for this, but this dude is an excellent tackler. His coverage is okay. Like, that's going to be his biggest learning curve, is his coverage, because, like I said, he's not the best athlete. But as a pure middle linebacker, run stopper, pass rusher, this dude could be fantastic. I think he'll fit right in with their defense. And I honestly think they'll be better against the run, because they were never great against the run, and I think he would help that immediately. Aaron Donald there, that D lineman, is off the charts good. So I think that is a match made in heaven, honestly. Okay, and then we have number 16, the Loins, the Detroit Lions. And for this one, they're the Lions, okay? So I'm a Vikings fan. I know I've said that. But so I know what the Lions are like. And everybody wants to always go for their offense, get their offense better. They need to shore up their offensive line. They should probably have a good, running back. And Megatron, Calvin Johnson, just retired. So that's a huge void that needs to be filled on their offense. Who's going to do that? I think if Laquan Treadwell was there, they would definitely take him, but he's not. He went to the Saints. So then you look at some of these other receivers, and they're kind of you could go Josh Doxson on TCU there, but they did pick up some free agent receivers. They don't necessarily have a great number one guy, but you can get some better ones down the line. I'm going with Shaq Lawson, the D end out of Clemson, and I know he dropped far in mine, but that's what happens. You like different prospects. Shaq Lawson could have went to the Bears. He could have easily went to the Rams. He could have went in the top 5, maybe even. Shaq Lawson, to me, people keep which one's better, Shaq Lawson, Kevin Dodd. I like Kevin Dodd a little bit, just because Shaq Lawson had this one good year. He kind of came on late and did really well, but that always scares me a little bit. And I feel like Kevin Dodd, he's just a little bigger, a little meatier, and I don't know, that's just my gut feeling. And I like Shaq Lawson a lot. But it's always kind of a little bit of I pump the brakes a little bit if they have one standout season. It doesn't really mean anything. It just makes me reevaluate him a little bit. But him going to the Lions, if you put him on the other side of what's that guy's name? The Lions defensive end. He went in the top 5 a couple years ago. He's really good. He's from Nambia or something. He went to BYU. Man, I forgot his name. But that dude's a beast. And if you put Shaq Lawson on that defensive line, they have Haloti Ngata. And so if you put him in, it's never a bad idea. It's like I said before, add to your strengths first. Sometimes I think if you take Shaq Lawson there, it would help your team a lot more than taking, say, Josh Doxson. I just feel like he would help their defense more than Josh Doxson would help their offense, honestly. So that's why I'm going there. And I think Shaq Lawson's probably better against the run, too, than a lot of guys give him credit for it. So then we have number 17, the Falcons in Atlanta. And this is an interesting team. They started out really well, went 6-0, and then they ended up like 8-8 or 9-7 or something terrible. Like they really fell apart at the end. Matt Ryan's been up and down these last couple years, mainly due to the offensive line. You'll hear me say that a lot, but I think it's severely underappreciated in today's NFL by certain people. So I just think I'm going Jack Conklin here out of Michigan State. Some people like Jack Conklin more than Ronnie Stanley. I like them both. Some people like Jack Conklin more because they say he's less finesse. He's more of a down and dirty guy, which I like out of my linemen too. But Jack Conklin, I think that's a great value pick there. I don't know if he's going to slide that far, honestly. So they have Jake Matthews, the Falcons dude they got last year, 2 years ago. He started really slow, struggling, but he came on a little bit, and they just need more talent on that offensive line because Matt Ryan just getting hurt, injured, has really been struggling lately. So I think Jack Conklin, I think that's their best bet there. Okay, so then we have number 18, the Colts, the Indianapolis Colts. Yeah, they also have a couple needs. You could go offensive line here, honestly, because Andrew Luck was kind of beat up last year, and he was running around and trying to do too much, as Andrew Luck does. So I thought about that. Then I thought about getting them a playmaker. I kind of love the idea of Ezekiel Elliott going to the Colts, but I don't think there's any way that he's going to drop that far. Honestly, if he drops, he won't get past 13, I don't think. I think the Dolphins will take him if he drops. But if he was somehow able to drop to 18, I think that would be a great fit for the Colts. I think they would benefit greatly from a playmaker like that. But again, I don't think he's going to go that far. And then you kind of look at their defense, and their corners play really well in spots. They have that Davis, not Vernon Davis, his brother, Vontae Davis, Vernon's brother, I think. I think they're brothers, actually. Vontae Davis. Really good corner. And their secondary plays really well in spots, but they're not necessarily super consistent. Mathis is getting older, still plays really well. Their D-line is kind of spotty. Their linebackers are also kind of spotty. I was thinking Jalen Smith or Darren Lee here, but I'm going to go Sheldon Rankins. Now, Sheldon Rankins is the D-tackle out of Louisville. This dude is athletic as hell. He might be one of the most athletic D linemen I've ever seen. He's a big boy. He's got a gut on him, but this dude, in his tape, he's dropping back. He's picking balls off, running down with them, making tackles, running down running backs. This dude is an athlete. He's a little raw, but I don't care. This dude's climbing a lot of people's draft boards, and I can totally see why. And I think him going to the Colts, again, like I've been saying, this D lineman class is stacked. So I think that's a huge value pick for him. And again, I think he comes in day one. If you get a pass rusher, a dude who can stop the run, this guy can even drop into coverage. Having a versatile guy like that on your defense can only help, I think. Unless he's a bust, obviously. But I think I really like Sheldon Rankins. He's really high on a lot of people's lists right now, and for good reason. So I think the Colts go there, even though it would be easy to take a flyer on an offensive player, give Luck more weapons, but you can do that in the later rounds, which they have. And Sheldon Rankins is a fantastic talent, so I think they should jump all over him. Okay, and then we have number 19 with the Buffalo Bills. And the Buffalo Bills played pretty well last year. The defense did not play that well. They were projected to be a lot better, and they were way better last year, and then this year they just weren't that good. They were pretty average, which is kind of disappointing with Rex Ryan going there. But they just lost Mario Williams. He went to the Dolphins, which, whatever, I don't really care. He didn't play that well for him last year, and they have a lot of talent on their defense, but they just kind of need to mesh it together. They could use another great pass rusher. So I'm going Jalen Smith out of Notre Dame, outside linebacker. He's more of your modern, prototypical kind of tweener, sort of super athletic, almost safety-like outside linebacker. Super athletic, super quick, great ball skills. Sort of like he reminds me of Anthony Barr a little bit. Just super athletic type of guy. Has a nose for the ball. Like he's like Sheldon Rankins, though. He's really climbing up people's draft boards, so he could go way earlier as well. You never know. But I didn't necessarily love him just because I think a lot of these other guys have better game tape, which is more what I base my stuff on. And Jalen Smith is a fantastic athlete, but he definitely blew some coverages. You know, just didn't play super well in great spots, in big spots. I mean, like there's certain things like that I kind of that I have personal biases against, and I think he's really good. But if you throw him in a system like the Bills should have with Rex Ryan, last year they just didn't have that many sacks. Like they really should have had a lot more sacks. He's a guy who could be a situational pass rusher today, like with no prep, I think, because he's just such a good athlete. If you get him into a system and get him playing well, I think in a system like that where you can have him as a pass rushing specialist right away, slowly work him into the starting lineup for good, I think this dude would be great, honestly. And I might be wrong about some of that stuff, but that's just what I feel, and I think he would fit in very well. You could look at some other places like another receiver, because who knows if Percy Harvin's going to be back, and Sammy Watkins is really great when he's healthy, but he's kind of hurt sometimes. So you could look at a couple different places, but I'll go there. Okay, and so we come to number 20, the last pick, and this one's actually probably the most interesting pick on this list. So a couple things happened with the Jets this week. Was after I looked over this and was kind of going through my picks, I was just starting to have my final thing down, and I wrote who I was going to pick, and then all of a sudden, D'Brickashaw Ferguson retired out of nowhere. The Jets left tackle, he retired. He's only been in the league 10 seasons, only ever missed one snap, never missed a game for the Jets, was a Pro Bowler. This dude was an anchor. He's what you want when you draft a left tackle in the first round. Like, this dude was fantastic. He retired after the Jets asked him to take a pay cut so they could get Ryan Fitzpatrick back, and then he just decided to retire. And it was kind of like sad to me, like, I don't know, I probably would have taken a pay cut, but this guy, he didn't. I mean, I feel like he probably thought he would go out in his prime, which I definitely commend him for, but I definitely threw a wrench at what I was doing. So then I kind of was like, oh, God, they got to take a left tackle right here, So I'm looking around, and Taylor Decker out of Ohio State was there, so I was going to have them take him because he's another top-end tackle, and that's a good spot for him to go. It's not like they're reaching for him or anything, so I was like, that's a safe pick for now. I can always change it later. Well, then, so I wrote down somebody, and then I put, okay, Taylor Decker, Ohio State, boom. Well, then, like, the next day, the Jets trade for Ryan Clady, the Broncos left tackle, because the Broncos got Russell Okung from the Seahawks. So then Ryan Clady, it was kind of expendable, so the Jets trade for him. And I was like, well, shit, now I got to change it again. So I was looking at it, and I was thinking, like, I could stick with Taylor Decker for the simple fact that Ryan Clady has been hurt a lot the last couple seasons, like a lot. So who knows if he's going to be healthy for a full season. He hasn't been for a while, so you can't necessarily bank on him being there, and having a good backup would be good. And Taylor Decker could play left or right, so you could kind of put him into the rotation if you needed to. But then I thought, well, you could always get a tackle later on that would also play well, like for the value of this pick, what do you do? So I think I'm going to go with a different Ohio State player. I'm going to go with Eli Apple, the corner out of Ohio State. This dude is kind of raw, but he is a fantastic athlete, makes great plays, has a great highlight reel. He blows some coverages. He'll have kind of a learning curve when he gets in, but the Jets lost Antonio Cromartie to free agency this year. They released him. So they obviously have Darrelle Revis. I think with a guy like Eli Apple, who's not super big, he's built more like Darrelle. If you could get him to work with Darrelle Revis at the tail end of Darrelle's career, it could be like a Deion Sanders, Champ Bailey situation. Now, because Eli Apple is a tremendous athlete, but I think he's going to have a little bit of a steeper learning curve, where I think Darrelle could come in and help him a lot. And if you get another really good corner, I think that helps their defense out a lot, which I've been talking about, how football's a team sport, and especially with defense, players help other players. So I think I really like the Eli Apple pick. Could go Taylor Decker, but I'm going to go Eli Apple because that defense played really well last year, and Cromartie didn't necessarily play that well, so I think Eli Apple could honestly be an improvement over that. As we saw with Kansas City, Marcus Peters played amazing last year, Defensive Rookie of the Year. Wasn't he? Yeah, I think he was. And, yeah, was fantastic. So, okay, so I'll run through that again for you. Okay, so then at number 11, we have Leonard Floyd out of Georgia, the outside linebacker. Then 12, the Saints, Laquan Treadwell, receiver out of Ole Miss. 13, the Dolphins, taking Vernon Hargreaves, corner out of Florida. And then we have the Raiders taking A'Shawn Robinson out of Alabama. And then we have Reggie Ragland going to the Rams at 15. And then at 16, we have Shaq Lawson out of Clemson going to the Loins. And then we have Jack Conklin going to the Falcons at 17. And at 18, Sheldon Rankins, D-tackle out of Louisville, going to the Colts. And then the Bills at 19 take Jalen Smith, outside linebacker out of Notre Dame. And then at 20, Eli Apple, corner out of The Ohio State University. So those are my picks. What do you guys think? That was really fun, actually. Yeah, so next week I will do my 21 through 31. And yeah, we'll go from there. And yeah, it's honestly been really fun. And the draft is coming up pretty soon, so I'll have that next week. And then it should be either the week after that is the draft or the next week. I think it's the week after that. And then I will most definitely do a draft recap. I should have my guest on for that, and that'll be a good time. So, yeah, what do you guys think? Do you agree with my picks? Do you not agree with my picks? Again, hit me up on Twitter at LukeLarson89. Let me know that my videos suck. Let me know that I mumble. Let me know that I'm terrible. I like to hear that stuff. Hit me up. I really appreciate all the views. This is really fun for me, honestly. I have a good time. And put your own mock drafts out there. I'd love to